Hey, Shalom, Mr. Brother Ba, you're back here again. Before I get started, like always, I want to give all praises and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rachahakodash. Double honors to my teachers, the elder apostles of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the hopeful elect. I'm going to title this, The Viltrumites or the Israelites, all right? The Viltrumites or the Israelites. Um, you got this show, Invincible. It's on its fourth season. And we're heading towards the season finale tomorrow, episode 8. And, the whole world is obsessed with this show right now, all right? Especially you Americans. And, I find it funny because the show is very violent, it's very gory. And, basically the Viltrumites are gods amongst men. And they want to, reign over humanity, rule over humanity. And people are enjoying this show, man. They're enjoying it at a very, very high level. Um, and the season finale tomorrow, basically the rest of the Viltrumites, which they are the strongest that are left, they're heading towards planet Earth to basically, continue their lineage. All right, and basically, the whole goal is to take over planet Earth. But when you look at the Viltrumites and their story, it's completely based off of the Israelites, all right? The sons of the Most High, all right? Yasha Allah, which means sons of the Most High, sons of the living power, sons of God. And I got this picture of General Thrag up, and General Thrag is the strongest Viltrumite amongst all Viltrumites. And basically, Thrag is just Yahweh Shai, who people ignorantly call Jesus Christ. His Hebrew name is Yahweh Shah, which means he delivers. But when you look at Thrag and his appearance, what is he wearing? He's wearing exactly what was described of our Lord Hamashiach Yahweh Shah would wear. Let me prove that by going to Revelation, the book of Revelation, the first chapter. The so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, African Americans, whatever you want to call us now, colored, Negroes, African Americans, black, so-called African Americans, Hispanics, and Native American Indians through their father's lineage. They are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites. They are the lost tribes of the nation of Israel. And regardless of how you feel about it, that's the truth. But that's why I said I find it funny how the Viltrumites are so harsh. But you people love watching it on TV, but then you'll see us reading out the Bible and say that we're speaking hate. But then you'll go home and watch a show where it's nothing but hate and enjoy it. But when you go to Revelation, the first chapter, it describes how Yahweh Shah looked. Verse 12, it says, "And I turned to see the voice that spoke with me, and being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks," all right, which represents the 7 churches. "And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle." And when you look at Thrag, he has a garment down to his foot, and he has a girdle on. All right, where did they get that from? Where did they get that from? They got it from the scriptures, man. All right, they got it from the scriptures. And when you continue reading, it says, "His head and his hairs were white like wool." Who has woolly hair? Wool is an afro. Right? The only people with afros on this earth are the so-called African Americans. All right, wool afros. All right, as white as snow, and his eyes were as flame as fire, or as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. So if you take brass and you burn it, it's going to be very, very dark. And last time I checked, people's feet are the same color as their hands, or the same color as their face, or the same color as their arms and the rest of their body, unless they have some type of disease. So he's a so-called black. He will be considered, the person who you call Jesus, whose Hebrew name is Yahweh Shai, he will be considered a so-called African American in today's time. And he comes from the tribe of Judah, right? So, this whole Thrag guy who loves his nation, who loves his people, and he wants to conquer the rest of the nations, that's biblical. That's biblical. Matter of fact, let's prove it in Daniel. Where is it? Daniel, the second chapter. And it talks about how the kingdom of heaven is going to destroy the other kingdoms on this earth that have ruled. So you had the strongest empires that ever existed on this earth was Babylon, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, and now we're living in the revised Roman Empire, which is the European Union, NATO, all right, with America riding upon the strength of the European Union and NATO, right? But this is what Daniel says in the prophecy that was given to the dream of Nebuchadnezzar of the Babylonian Empire. Verse 44 of Daniel chapter 2, it says, "And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people." Why? Because it's given to the Israelites. It's not going to be left to the other nations. "But it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever." All right, so the kingdom of Yahushua is going to come and take over the earth, rule over the earth. All right. Matter of fact, while I'm still touching on Thrag, let me see. Let me go into the prophecy of Esdras when he's seeing Yahushua coming back. Where's that at? Second Esdras, the 13th chapter. Yeah, second Esdras, the 13th chapter. Let's go there. Second Esdras, chapter 13. This is second Esdras, chapter 13, verse 2. It says, "And lo, there arose a wind from the sea," and this is the return of Hamashiach Yahushua. People talk about the second coming of Christ and all this stuff. Well, the second coming of Hamashiach Yahushua, this is what Esdras saw in the vision. "And lo, there arose a wind from the sea, and it moved all the waves thereof, and I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with thousands of heaven." So basically, when you look at the last episode of Invincible with the VILTRUMITES, and you see all those VILTRUMITEs, and they're behind Thrag, that's Yahushua. It says, "With thousands of heaven, and when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him." Everybody's going to tremble at the sight of Hamashiach Yahushua. And in this show, Invincible, everybody's trembling at Thrag because nobody can do anything with him. He's too fucking strong. If he touches you and he wants to kill you, you're going to die. There's nothing you can do about it. Verse 4, it says, "And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it filleth fire." Because not only that, what you call UFOs, they're actually the chariots of heaven, all right? The vehicles of the angels that follow Hamashiach Yahushua, and they actually shoot out what you would call laser beams or fire, form of fire. Right? Verse 5, and it says, "And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea." All right, the scriptures speak about the four corners of the earth. You're going to have all these powerful nations on the earth and kings of the earth, whether it be Putin, Kim Jong-un, Iran, China. They're going to try to fight against Hamashiach Yahushua when he comes back. And they've been talking about, fighting aliens if they have to, if it comes down to it. They SpaceX, creation and trying to build technology that can fight extraterrestrial forces. They show you that in these movies, all right, where they're fighting, what's that movie with Will Smith, Independence Day, I believe it. Verse 6, it says, "But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it." And that's talking about the chariot, his vehicle. He's flying in a huge vehicle, right? And NASA actually, it was this clip that NASA had showed where a huge, what you would call a UFO, covered the whole earth, which shows you the fathership is bigger than the earth, man. Who's not going to tremble if the whole earth goes dark one day because of a damn, spaceship? Right? So Edra said he flew upon this thing, and he described it as a mountain. But verse 7, he says, but I would have seen the region or place where about the hill was graven, and I could not. So he couldn't see the end of where, this thing that he was flying upon, where it ended at, which shows you it covered the whole earth. Right? Verse 8, it says, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. So you can continue to read this chapter, but it tells you the immense fear that Hamashiach Yahushua is going to bring on this earth. All right, this whole Christianity, Roman Catholicism, deity Jesus has nothing to do with the Bible. That's a made-up pagan deity. All right, it goes back to these Greek pagan Babylonian deities. All right, the sun god and Zeus and all this crazy shit. Pagan Sunday worshiping the sun. It has nothing to do with the scriptures. But continue with the point of this lesson. The VILTRUMITES are the Israelites, right? The Israelites are known as what? The sons of God. Let's get it in Psalms chapter 82. Psalms chapter 82. And let's read it. Psalms chapter 82, verse 6. It says, I have said ye are gods, and all of you are the children of the Most High, but ye shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. So the inheritance of immortality came through Jacob, the sons of Jacob, right? All right, so the sons of Jacob, he had 12 sons, which became the 12 patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Israel. They have the inheritance of the kingdom of heaven and immortality. Through Abraham, all nations are blessed, whether it be the Ishmaelites, Edomites, Hamites, so forth and so on. But the inheritance, that you give your inheritance to your sons, not the next door neighbor. So even though through Abraham all nations was blessed, the inheritance went from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, not Abraham, Ishmael, or Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. No, it went through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All right, verse 8, it says, arise, O power, judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations. That's the word inheritance. So somebody's going to inherit the nations, right? Let's get that. In Revelation, the 2nd chapter, when he's speaking to the churches. Revelation chapter 2, verse 25, it says, but that which ye have already hold fast till I come. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. So there's going to be men that are given rulership and power over the rest of the nations. Verse 27, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. So there you go. The Lord said he's going to give his sons an inheritance of a rod, and they're going to beat the nations and control the nations and have the other nations subservient unto them. And even David was given that promise of the rod, all right? King David, all right? But continuing on the fact that, the Israelites are gods, even Yahushua had to confound some of the wicked Israelites that wanted to stone him. All right, this is John chapter 10, verse 31. It says, then the Jews took up stones again to stone him. Yahushua answered them, many good works have I showed you from my Father. For which of those works do you stone me? So he's like, okay, why are you trying to stone me? All right, I've shown you the spiritual power on the right-hand side that I've been given from my power. Why are you trying to stone me? It says, then the Jews answered him, saying, for a good work we stone thee not, but for blasphemy, because thou, being a man, makest thyself God. Yahushua answered them, is it not written in your law, I said ye are gods? If he called them gods unto whom the word of God came, and the scripture cannot be broken, say ye of him whom the Father hath sanctified and sent into the world, thou blasphemest. because I said I am the Son of God. So he was letting them know, is it not written in your law that you are also gods? All right, the Israelites are gods. You're the living sons of the true and living power. You're the sons of the true and living power. All right. Now, when you go into that inheritance of the rod of iron, it was first promised to King David. All right, you got it in Psalm chapter 2, verse 9. It says, matter of fact, verse 7. Psalm chapter 2, verse 7. It says, I will declare the decree. The Lord power Yahweh have said unto me, Thou art my son. This day I have begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance. See, King David was going to get the heathen as the inheritance, and as so also the Israelites. They are the sons of the Most High. They have an inheritance. Fathers give their sons an inheritance. Yes, other nations are blessed, just like the Ishmaelites. Right now, they're rich off of oil, right? They have their own country, and they're doing their own dealings. But the inheritance, right now, the Israelites are dying like men because of the curses. They broke the first covenant that was given to them through Moses. We're suffering the curses, but once the curses are lifted up off of us, we're gonna be blessed with our inheritance from our Father. It says, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the othermost parts of the earth for thy possession. We're gonna take over the earth just like the VILTRUMITEs. All right. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. All right. So this is the inheritance I'm going into. All right. And David had what? A kingdom, and he had men. All right. And the scriptures talk about the tabernacle of David being risen again in the last days. Let me see. This is Amos chapter 9, verse 10. It says, all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake us, nor prevent us. In that day I will raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof. And I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. So when Yahushua comes back, he's going to have King David with him, and they're going to rebuild the tabernacle of David, the kingdom of heaven. You can read about that in Isaiah the 47th chapter, Isaiah the 60th chapter. Right? And they're going to possess that inheritance, that rod of iron, to rule over the rest of the nations. It says that they may, verse 12, that they may possess the remnant of Edom and all the heathen which are called by my name, saith the Lord power Yahweh that doeth this. So he's going to keep that promise that he gave to David of inheriting the heathen, and pursuing the Revelation, the 2nd chapter that I read. The saints that are enduring to the end, they're going to receive that inheritance of that rod of iron. All right. Now, when you go to, just to give you a little glimpse into David's men, that tabernacle of David's mighty men, it shows you how they were just like the VILTRUMITEs are portrayed in the show of Invincible. Is it 1 Samuel or 2 Samuel? Let me see. Bear with me one moment. Is it 1 Samuel or 2 Samuel? It's 2 Samuel. Bear with me one moment while I go to 2 Samuel. And I'm going to just give you an example of how strong David's mighty men were. Let me see. Verse 8. Let's start at verse 8. 2 Samuel chapter 23, verse 8. These be the names of the mighty men whom David had. The Tachmonite that sat in the seat, chief among the captains. The same was Adino the Eznite. He lifted up his spear against 800, whom he slew at one time. So one of David's men, who went by the name of Adino, he killed 100 men at one time with his spear. So yes, the VILTRUMITEs are the Israelites, man. So y'all enjoying this show? Shit, I'm enjoying the show. But see, I'm an Israelite, and I fear my power, and I'm following my power, and I'm waiting on the inheritance as a son of the Most High. But for the rest of you people, the rest of you nations that love this show so much, hey, I hope you love it when
It's time for us to get our inheritance and rule over you. I hope you love it when Yahweh Shah appears like Thrag, and he gonna be way stronger than Thrag. Thrag ain't shit. You ain't seen nothing yet till you seen the true power, like Bane said in Batman, true power. That fear that's gonna take over the earth, man. So yeah, I wanted to do a lesson on that because it was on my spirit. Lord willing, it was edifying. Until the next time I say, Shalom.